If you can't be accurate, a lot of other things don't matter. It doesn't matter how great a company you are or how great your relationships are. If you can't be accurate, not much else matters.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm joined by Jennifer Doty, the VP of Customer Operations at ThreeFlow, a leading name in B2B insurance and tech space. At RevGenAI, we build AI automated outbound and thought leadership podcast systems for B2B founders. And this show is where we're spotlighting growth-minded leaders who are driving innovation in their industries. Today, we'll explore how Jennifer and her team are creating impact, scaling growth, and shaping the future of benefits placements for insurance brokers and carriers. Jennifer, it's great to have you.
Thanks so much, Mayor. Pleasure to be here.
Of course. So can you just start us off by really explaining how ThreeFlow got started and really what inspired you to focus on the benefits placement space and really just give us a little bit of a background?
Absolutely. Well, ThreeFlow was started by some founders who saw an opportunity in the benefits and the group benefits space, right? And so up until ThreeFlow came to be, a lot of the processes that sales reps worked through when they went through quoting for with brokers, right, on the carrier side, is a lot of it was transactional. A lot of it was handled via email. A lot of documents, a lot of documentation, a lot of not knowing what the latest set of rates or plan information was, right? And it was really inefficient. And so the growth of ThreeFlow came about because our founders saw the opportunity in this space to really drive efficiency and make it easier and make it a pleasure for group carriers and brokers to work together in a joint system. I call it the gold copy system of record, which is I'm super passionate about. And when you can create a gold copy source of data, your clients and your customers will run to you in order to leverage that capability, right? And so they created a platform, which is a consolidated place where group carriers and brokers can more effectively exchange data for quoting and rating. It is all held within our platform. They can chat back and forth when they have questions. They have the final gold copy documentation, including census and plan designs that they can leverage for the next renewal or if they send something to market. And so it really has driven a lot of efficiency in this space. And I know it all too well because I spent 20 years at MetLife, primarily in the group operations space. And I'll tell you, we used to duct tape and paperclip things together to make it look good on the outside of the company. And I know all too well what happens when you don't have great data. When you don't have great data, your implementation for that employer doesn't always go well. The rate is not always right. The plan design isn't always right, which means the bill is wrong or the claim is wrong. And then you have employees potentially who are unhappy. And so this has done a world of good in creating a much better experience for those brokers and carriers day to day.
It's fascinating. And I'd love to understand, as somebody who has this platform and is gathering all this data, especially because the focus of our show is around AI. Like, a lot of AI is kind of overhyped right now, and so I'm curious from what you're seeing, like, because you're connected to how it's actually landing in the real world. Like, where is it actually delivering value to where it's actually helping the brokers deliver better results?
Yeah, so in two places come to mind that I'm really passionate about. And the number one is accuracy, right? And so having accurate information is really important when you're relying on a gold copy source of data, right? And so we've leveraged AI in a multitude of places, whether it's from the point of when we're building out coverages, existing coverages on our platform, and leveraging AI to set those up in a proper way, right? It also, we've leveraged it to take documentation and pull information out of that based on AI. It's allowed us to help carriers build coverages using AI, right? And so accuracy is table stakes in our business. If you can't be accurate, a lot of other things don't matter. It doesn't matter how great a company you are or how great your relationships are. If you can't be accurate, not much else matters. So that's number one. Number two, it has really helped with speed, right? So things that used to take 5 business days, we've shaved multiple days off of that process now by being able to leverage AI, which is phenomenal, right? Because speed to market ease for a broker who's moving fast or has a rush to get something out matters, right? And so being able to do that really effectively, efficiently, and accurately is super important.
Yeah, I love that focus. Both accuracy and speed is super important. And it's it's kind of reshaping how we're servicing our clients as well in many regards. And I think it's shifting every single industry. But what shifts or trends are you seeing right now that are exciting you most and are really kind of like the next stage that you're looking into developing for that near term, and are really like kind of changing how you're actually shaping your own solutions that you're developing?
Yeah, it's been really helpful with us creating and updating internal processes, right? So when you think about training instructions, right? So we do a lot of leveraging external resources for some of our processes that where we need to, right? And so it has really allowed us to continue to maintain them and keep them up to date, right? When you think about, learning models, right? It's learning as you go. It's getting smarter as you go, right? We also use it from a support perspective for our users, right? And so we use AI to allow people to chat back and forth when they have questions. They don't have to get to a person. And the data is teaching itself what we're hearing, what are the trends, or what types of questions are people asking, and we can come back with better and more accurate responses to their questions, which is great. And so I love how fast it's moving. I know that's scary all at the same time, to keep up with, but it is truly incredible at what is possible and how fast this continues to move. I came from the era when I remember Mayor rolling out robotics, right? So robotics was cool, probably, I don't know, I'm going back almost 20 years now, right? And so to see how much faster things move today with AI is really incredible.
It is, and it's moving at breakneck speed. What we were doing, just a few months ago, is completely indistinguishable from what we're actually doing
Yeah.
today. And
It's old news already.
the rate of progress is incredible. And the fascinating thing is, like, I feel like we're just ramping up that exponential curve. But I also am kind of starting to see that it could be overwhelming for a lot of people. And so I'm curious, what would your take be to offer to some business leaders who maybe just used to say just using ChatGPT as as a search engine, and they're not really understanding how to truly leverage AI? What would be like your recommendations for like where they should begin, especially as it pertains to the insurance industry, or just like your experience having
Yeah.
gone through it?
So I'll share the first thing I think of is for me personally in my day to day, like in how I manage my time and my effort, right? So as a business leader who is not growing up in the AI age, right? I find I look at the things that I do that take a lot of time, or I wish I could delegate to someone else. And those are the things that are really ripe for figuring out if AI could be a solution. So, like, I'll give you an example, right? There are a set of emails that we send out on a monthly basis, right, for approvals. I was able to leverage and create my own agent through Lindy, right, and create my own AI agent where you can basically say, here's a list, take this list, create these emails, and would you draft them in my Gmail for me, right? That saved me hours, probably a whole day, give or take, depending on how busy some months were, right? And so some of the things where you're saying that, like, geez, this is taking me longer than it should. I got that tip this weekend at another training class. If you're doing something that you just get frustrated and you're like, this is taking too long, it is ripe for seeing if there is an AI option on how to do it faster.
100%. That's the same recommendations that I give to like I give to other business owners that I speak to, because I am, taking on a few of them as kind of like, as a consultant, having gone through the adoption curve myself, is just like begin to measure your time and see exactly like what is actually taking up your time. Have AI start to recognize patterns from that. You don't actually have to think yourself about what is automatable, because obviously it's hard to understand and to start to think in that paradigm. But really what I've seen is the most powerful thing is just to shift the paradigm. Start to think about how can, instead of thinking about here's what I know about the solution, start asking AI how can I solve this problem, and kind of be open to new solutions, and just having the end goal in mind, or the business outcome, the result that you're aiming at, and kind of let that be the North Star, is what I've kind of found really works. I'm curious to ask you, because this is obviously another area that we'd like to talk about on the podcast, is really how you're thinking about marketing and client acquisition, and really what's been working best for you in that regard as well.
Yeah. So I share with you a lot of what we do as a relationship business, right? And so it's how do you leverage the relationships that you have, right? The group insurance business has been around for a very, 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 very long time, right? And so I think determining how do you get better access to those relationships, where do you not have relationships that you wish you did, and how do you make those connections? Leveraging AI, right? I think, to what you said earlier about like, how do you figure out where to use it? Well, start talking to it, right? Start sharing with it your problems. What are the things you wish you could solve differently? What is heavy on your heart when you go to bed at night that you wish you figured out a way to do, right? And you would be really surprised at the opportunities that come back to you as ideas, right? And so for us, it's really around how do we get to those people who don't know about us yet? How do we get people's attention, make sure people understand the benefits of what we have to offer, and, leverage all the different channels that are out there.
Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting that you come back to, at the end of the day, it's relationships, and we kind of fundamentally think the same in that way, that like we're leveraging AI, we're doing everything at scale, and kind of setting everything up to be very efficient and accurate and measurable. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to, well, can we create more relationships with people? Can we connect our clients with their ideal clients, and foster that connection so that they can do business together, right? And so, I think it all comes down to the fundamentals, and that's really like the grounding truth that I hear a lot on the podcast, that business leaders I speak to, that a lot of them kind of just have this focus on principles, and that's what kind of stays true throughout shifts and trends, and that's kind of what I'm understanding is how you think as well. I am kind of curious though, because in this age of AI, I know that it's sometimes it's hard to stand out above the noise. What have been some of the challenges for you, really, in expanding your relationships and expanding beyond your network, especially in the current market?
Yeah, I would say getting people's attention at the right time, right? It's not always the right time for a broker or a carrier to work with you. Everybody has their own strategic agenda. Everyone has their own growth goals. And it's knowing those relationships and understanding your business customers, because we are truly B2B, understanding both sides of our business, the brokers and the carriers, well enough to know when there's an opportunity to knock on the door again and say, could now be a good time for you? Is there a problem that you're facing that we could help you solve, right? And leveraging what leveraging what about the economy, what the state is of the insurance space, and knowing that everyone is trying to solve the same problem, right? Everyone is trying to figure out, how do I leverage AI? Where do I point it to be effective? Where do I not waste my time, right? Most importantly, and figuring out how we can be part of that solution. Everybody's trying to spend less money. Everybody's trying to grow faster, more profitably. We all, no matter what type of business you're in, we all have the same challenges when you boil it down to like what matters most, right? And so it's really getting underneath, understanding what, like what your customers' problems are and how you can help them.
Yeah, I like that. I agree. And really kind of makes my next question really applicable. Is just, I'm curious to reflect this. Like, if you had a magic wand, what's one thing that you would like to tackle and change in your business right now to make your own growth easier?
I would say it is our ability to integrate and connect with brokers and carriers in a way that allows us to pass data back and forth more easily, right? And so when you think about a lot of the group insurance carriers we're dealing with, a lot of them are, almost either 100 years old, maybe older, right? When you think about the technology, yes, there's some on the earlier spectrum and they're younger and they don't have all this baggage that they're working through, right? But you think about the old school technology stacks that a lot of these companies are dealing with, they're not easy to navigate, right? And so one thing that I know would dramatically improve our ability to provide impact, our ability to provide data that they can leverage to help grow their businesses would be the easy transfer of data back and forth between our systems. Like, so if I could wave a magic wand, it was easy. It was easy, and there's no blockers to stopping us from doing it, right? Because I know in my heart from all my years in operations and setting up employers, the primary goal is to have the right data all the way through the system. And so I spent years putting up guardrails around processes to make sure that data wasn't bad, to make sure that the right data got through. I mean, talk about checkers, checking the checkers, right? How do you have people make sure that when it gets all the way through to the end of the process in the journey of that policy, that it's accurate and it's correct? And so if you can speed up the ability to transfer data and have gold copy data all the way through the process, you really can ignite a fire under your business and your ability to grow.
Yeah, I think that a lot of businesses are trying to be AI first, but to be AI first, you need to be data first. You need to first be able to have all the data to be able to make those smart decisions and have, the intelligence that AI can really be able to analyze large amounts of data and make informed decisions from. So I fully understand why that's a problem worth solving. And I asked that question just because it also helps, get the clarity on like what's the one problem that would be worth focusing on and figuring out and developing solutions for.
You also need to step back and even you need to understand your data, obviously, but you need to understand like what are I call them the milestones that matter, the moments that matter in your customer's life cycle, whatever that is. What matters most to them? And what are the processes that matter most to them, not to you? You've got to have an outside in point of view and start first with what they care about. And all too many times as companies, you build a strategy around what matters to you inside out. And you're talking in language that only you understand and that your customers don't understand, right? So the more you can put your shoes in the person across the table or in the Zoom, the better off you're going to be. Because as soon as somebody looks at you and go, oh my gosh, he or she gets me, they get me, you will have launched further in that relationship, which will build loyalty and trust and reliance on, I'm going to give this a shot with this person, whatever that looks like.
I think that was one of the best points for sure. I think so often it's easy to kind of put yourself in a silo of what you're developing and not really see how this affects the real world. And so having that paradigm of, well, everything that we're developing is at the end of the day to bring value to our clients and to whoever is going to experience or for example, even watch this podcast, right? So that's really just a great point. And thank you, Jennifer, for sharing with us here today. For any listeners who want to reach out and connect either with you or with ThreeFlow, where's the best place for them to find you?
You can find me at Jennifer Doty at threeflow.com. I'd be happy to chat with you and or connect you to somebody on our team that can answer any questions you have.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.